Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. This one does cover some heavy topics, particularly schizoaffective disorder, and it also has some interesting family dynamics going on. I do hope that you enjoy the story. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Anyway, on to the story. Okay, I know this will sound weird, but stay with me. A few years ago, I got diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, depressive type. It kind of came later in life, so when the symptoms hit, I was working full-time and I had a decent job. After it started getting worse, I ended up losing my job, and now I'm in the process of going for disability. It's not where I wanted to go in life, but I'm trying my best. It's been hard. Trying to find the right medication is horrible, but I found ones that are working wonders, and my hallucinations have been down by a lot. Things were starting to look up. So my wife, Kathy, who's a 33-year-old female, has been really supportive and is basically supporting me financially. It's one of the hardest things about going through this, to be honest, having to live like a deadbeat husband and having my wife work extra hard for the both of us. Her family has been less than thrilled, and I can't really blame them. I'm still cordial with them, but it's tense. A few months ago, Kathy's sister Sue left her husband and came to live with us along with her baby. I can't say I'm happy with new people in the house, but I understand, and I tried to be accommodating with her, and for a while, things were good between Sue and I. She's always been a little nervous with me ever since my diagnosis. When it first came out, she immediately sent a text to my wife saying that she didn't trust me around her kid for babysitting anymore. But she had seemed lightened up and everything seemed good. It started last month where every time when I walked past Sue when we were alone, I'd hear her whisper stuff I couldn't make out. I'd ask her if she said anything and she'd always say no, so I assumed I was mishearing stuff and maybe it was my audio hallucinations. But it started to happen more often, like every time I was near her. Sometimes we'd be watching a show and I'd hear whispering coming from her, but I never could get a good look at her mouth to see if it was her or not. She'd either be turned away from me or behind or in front of me. The whispers started getting louder and I could actually make out what they were saying. Stuff like, kill them all or rape that bee, which really started to worry me. My hallucinations have always been kind of rough, but they always seem focused on me. Stuff like, I hate you or you're a failure. Never the other stuff. So I was worried they were getting worse on me. Then I started hearing voices from other rooms. It sounded like someone was talking from the other rooms, and anytime I'd ask Sue if she heard anything, she'd claim not to. The weird thing is, my audio hallucinations are different from what I was hearing. My hallucinations have always sounded female, whereas the voices from the other room were male. My voices also sound like they're whispering right next to my ear, while these ones sound like they're taking place somewhere else. The weird part was that the voices sounded a lot like memes from 4chan. They like to message people from the schizophrenia subreddit and tell them that they're hiding in their walls, and that's exactly what I'm hearing in the other room. I started searching for the source of the voices around the house, but Sue got scared and started telling my wife I was going crazy again. I know it looked bad, but my hallucinations sound and say different things, so I was making sure that it wasn't something else. Today, things got worse. My medication ended up being missing. Like I kept it in the kitchen at night, but the bottle was gone this morning. When I asked Sue if she saw the medication, she got really scared and hid in her room with the baby. Her mother and dad came over and they weren't necessarily hostile with me, but they blocked my way and took Sue to their house for the day. They called up my wife and told them that I had been harassing her and quote-unquote going crazy at Sue, and they feared for Sue and her baby with the quote-unquote schizo around. I really think Sue is messing with me. I've had trouble taking my medication in the past when my symptoms were at the worst, but I really like this medication I was on, and I'm nervous about waiting a few days for more of it. The problem is, I really could be hallucinating everything. Yes, it's different with my other hallucinations I've had in the past, but hallucinations can change with time, and if I was becoming delusional again, not like I'd really know it either. I really don't want to be scaring Sue, but it just doesn't seem right. None of this stuff happens when my wife gets back home from work, only when it's just me and Sue at home. I didn't really think she'd be capable of doing stuff like this, but everything around this feels just wrong. I'm not sure how my wife is feeling about this. I haven't had a chance to talk to her in depth about it, and what little we did get out to talk about, I couldn't really tell how she was feeling about everything. She's been my biggest cheerleader and supporter through all of this, but her family is saying my symptoms are targeting her sister and nephew now, so I'm not too sure what's going through her mind. I just don't know what to do. Ever since this started happening, my symptoms have made a comeback, so I have heard my usual hallucinations from the stress of everything. I don't want to be a monster, and I was thinking of maybe getting myself into the psych ward, but I just have this feeling that this is just Sue screwing with me. My delusions and hallucinations have always been spirit related, not targeting anyone specifically. And if it's Sue that is doing this, why in the world would she be messing with me if she truly believed I was dangerous? What should I do? Now, these are some comments from OP. In a response to a comment stating that Sue needed to leave, he said, "It'd be hard kicking her out. Her parents live in a one-bedroom, so they don't have any room for her and she has no money at the moment. Since Sue's been gone, I haven't had any hallucinations, but it's too soon to tell." In a response to a comment where OP is asked if he keeps track of his hallucinations, he replied, "I keep track of new audio hallucinations. With this new medication, they went to almost 0 voices before the stuff with Sue happened. Since she left, they are 0, but it hasn't been that long, so I'm not too sure." These are a few comments from fellow Redditors. One said, "Call your psychiatrist, ask for emergency meds, and ask for an appointment as soon as possible. Use your phone to record any sound you hear. I'm really sorry, I know this is hard. I have a family member who has struggled with this for 40 years. Reach out to your doctor." Sit down with your wife and lay all of this out. Don't accuse Sue of anything, but tell her you are genuinely concerned that this only happens when your wife isn't home. Tell her that you would feel better asking Sue to stay somewhere else for the time being. From there, keep an eye on what you're feeling. If after Sue is gone, things get better, then you know something was up. If it doesn't get better, then you know it wasn't her. Either way, have your wife suggest to Sue to stay away for a few days somewhere else. Make sure she doesn't say it's because of your mental health, because it sounds like Sue is already scared enough as it is. Another good idea would be to pull out your phone when you hear these voices. Record on your phone and send them to your wife or a friend. Ask them if they hear anything in the video that's out of ordinary. Another person can confirm or deny what you're hearing. For now, stay calm and avoid confronting Sue directly. It sounds like she's nervous already, and any confrontation could cause her to call her parents again as an SOS, painting you in a negative light. Easy solution. Sue moves out. If the hallucinations stop, either she was screwing with you or the stress was triggering an attack. If the hallucinations continue, talk to your doctor. And then the Redditor added an edit. By the way, I don't think you're crazy, OP. I think Sue is screwing with you, but instead of accusing her, it's going to be better to beat her at her own game and use it as an excuse for her to move out, not you. Also, I'd like to point out that schizoaffective disorder appearing late in life is fairly common and not unusual in the least, as schizophrenia is one of the most unpredictable mental illnesses. Reading up on autism helped me understand myself. Reading about SAD might help you too. First things first, I was able to get my medication in about 2 days, so I wasn't without my antipsychotics for too long, thankfully. When my wife got home, we had a talk about what's been happening. I told her about Sue when I was alone with her and even let her read about my previous post. My wife is a rock star and she took everything I said very well. We acknowledged the fact that it could still be hallucinations because we didn't have proof, but my wife had her suspicions of Sue and told me that it's not outside the realm of something she would do. My wife told me Sue had talked to her earlier this week and told her I had not been taking my pills. My wife was confused by this because I tend to take my pills in front of her. I had a hard time with taking pills when I was first diagnosed and I was still having delusions. She had assured Sue that I had been taking my pills and thought it was just Sue being extra paranoid. We went and searched for the pills one last time, but they were gone. We decided not to have Sue back over anymore. My wife didn't like the idea of her sister and nephew homeless, but she took to heart about what was said on the post and decided that it was for the best of everyone involved. I had been making good progress for a while and she didn't want it to go away with Sue around. Of course, when she called up her family to tell them, they were pissed. Her parents screamed at her for choosing her husband over family, and later her sister called her crying about how they were going to be homeless soon because her parents weren't going to let her stay there for too much longer. It hurt seeing my wife caught up in this, and I'm not gonna lie, I almost relented about Sue staying with us, but my wife assured me that this was the right decision. So everything was quiet for a few days. I didn't have any of the quote-unquote new audio hallucinations with Sue around. Let me tell you, it was a relief. I can't say I was totally fine. Some of my old delusions were making a comeback, mostly spirits and hauntings, but I felt more relaxed at home and was feeling good with her gone. I took the time to call up my doctor and we had an emergency appointment, which made me feel better moving forward. So this happened about 3 days ago. My wife's family waited for my wife to go off to work and then came over to our place. The first thing I noticed was that they actually bought a moving van. I don't know if their plan was for me to move out or to move more of Sue's junk in, but they were there, moving van, right in my front yard. I texted my wife to let her know what was going on and then I answered the door. I didn't let them in. So basically, the dad comes to me all aggressively and tells me that, as a family, they decided that I was too unstable to live at home anymore and to pack up my stuff, we're having you committed. I told him straight up that that wasn't going to happen and I wasn't going to go anywhere with them. The mom went on a rant about how I was so unstable and that they weren't going to leave their nephew with someone so dangerous. I told them that Sue wasn't staying here, so there's nothing to worry about. The mom then tried to switch it up and to sweet talk me then, saying that my mental health was on the decline and that they were so worried about me and were going to take me to the hospital for my own good, and even said afterwards that I could live with my family when the nephew gets a little older. Not even when I get better, when the nephew gets older. I told them again that this is my house, I was not going anywhere. Sue was never staying over again and they needed to leave my house before I called the police. They laughed, which just pissed me off. And yes, honestly, I should have called the cops, but between having the schizoaffective disorder and me being a black man in an argument against an old white couple, I didn't like the odds of me ending up being the one getting arrested. I did text my wife that her family was trying to have me go into inpatient, which made her leave work right away. So to shorten this up, we had a screaming match and it basically boiled to this. If I didn't agree to move out for the safety of Sue and the kids, they would call up my landlord and let them know about my serious condition and what type of dangerous person was living in the house. They also implied that they were ready to have me involuntarily committed with all the other crazies if I fought them on this anymore. It was better to go with them now so that I would be taken into one of the good places. Now, for a little backstory. When I got diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, my brother let me move into the house that I'm currently staying at today. We pay rent, but rent's at a good rate because he wanted to make sure that I had a good place to stay. We've told her parents this before, multiple times, but I guess they forgot this little detail. So I told them straight up, my brother is my landlord. If I go, Sue still will not be living here, ever. If I go into inpatient, she isn't going to live here. The situation will never end with her living at this house. That shut him up. Dead silence. They looked at me like I had just killed their dog. They tried to say a few more things, but at that point, it just kind of fizzled out anticlimactically. Sue and her parents left afterwards. My wife came home not too long after her family had left, and she was pissed. Like, my wife is a 5'4" tiny woman, but boy was she mad as hell about what happened, especially going behind her back to do this. Cue more calls, more fighting with her family. She stood by me, told them to stay the hell away from me, and I greatly appreciate that. I just know it's killing her on the inside about not being able to see her nephew anymore. Before this happened, her family was supportive of her and very close, so it just blows my mind that the situation turned into this. She's going no contact with them for now. So that's where I'm at right now. Not doing the best mental health wise, to be honest. I might end up in inpatient anyway, with the way things are going. I keep getting paranoid that they're going to take me away somehow, but I'm trying to remain calm with everything. Like I said, none of those new hallucinations when Sue were around, but with the stress of everything, I feel like I'm constantly surrounded and I'm going to be taken at any moment. I've talked to my doctor again and we have a plan in place, but I really don't want to end up in inpatient if I can avoid it. It makes it worse knowing that my wife will be left alone without support, which makes me more pissed off at the situation. Thank you for all the advice, Reddit. It really helped me out in the end. So guys, what did you think about this? Honestly, it just blows my mind that some people can be so malicious. Like what? Why are you taking a perfectly happy person? I mean, I understand that they were definitely struggling, but why would you just compound their struggle for no reason or just very selfish reasons? Oh, I don't want to believe that Sue actually did something like that, because that just like blows my mind. But then again, I like to believe the best in people. If there's one thing that you can take away from this story is that I hope you never stoop to Sue's level. Anyhow, that's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. Again, if you did, please give it a like and please subscribe for more stories from my Reddit with updates.